Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome back to Term 2, everyone. Lovely to see so many boys in their tie and blazer looking resplendent in your formal uniforms. Welcome years 10, 11 and 12 into the Christian Brothers Conference Centre, and of course we have years 5 to 9 in classrooms and PC rooms around the college. A welcome also to parents and friends of Nudgee College, either here or watching online. It's wonderful to be back after a holiday, and I hope you had a very happy and holy Easter break. Term 2 promises to be a wonderful and action-packed term, and we start that off today. We're going to be hearing from our acting college principal, Mr. Johnston, as well as our college captain, Harry Rawati. We'll provide you an activities update, including a roundup of recent GPS achievements from Term 1, some championships held over the holidays, and also looking forward towards GPS activities in Term 2 and your role either participating or supporting those. We'll also be hearing from Ms. Kafagi, who'll update us on the performing arts activities in Term 2, and she'll also be introducing a musical item. Finally, we'll hear from Mr. Kennellan, who'll map out the coming week for us. So whether it's online or here in the Christian Brothers Conference Centre, there's lots for every boy to engage with as we begin the term. I shall commence with the acknowledgement of country. Nudgee College acknowledges the Turrbal people of Minjin, First Nations peoples and part of the oldest living, continuing culture in the world. They are the traditional custodians of these lands and waterways, which they call Numji and Nada, and we call Nudgee. We acknowledge their ancient customs and the law of the land. We pay our respects and acknowledge all ancestors, elders and communities across this nation and neighbouring islands. I would now like to introduce Mr. Mara to lead us in prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Sepatos, and good morning to you all. And may I add my welcome to Term 2, and a great thing it is to be back together again. No matter how wonderful a break is, this place doesn't make any sense without you men here, and it is wonderful to welcome you back. For those of you who have been a part of our community for more than the last 12 months, you would remember a time when we finished every assembly with the singing of the school song. We haven't done that this year because it took us a long time to gather again in numbers, and we've been putting it off until we can gather as a whole school community. We thought that perhaps we would be in a position to do that by this time of year, but for the most cautious of reasons, and for very good reasons, we have chosen to only gather in 3-year groups at a time at assembly, and to slowly add to that number when we can. But we're not going to delay the singing of the school song at assembly any longer, and we're going to start again today. In fact, it will be our prayer for today. We use this song in a number of different contexts. Sometimes we use it as a hymn, singing glory to God and praise for the faith that we share. Sometimes we use it as an anthem, boldly proclaiming our identity as St. Joseph's Nudgee College. And sometimes we use it as a ballad, a story of a young man who begins a journey in wonderment and awe and finishes it thanking God for his great fortune. Whatever the context in which we sing it, those 3 purposes are never really separate. We may emphasise one over the other 2, but at all times it remains a hymn, an anthem, and a personal song to each of us. It's important to remember that, so that in whatever context and on whatever occasion that we sing it, we always sing it well, we always sing it boldly with confidence, and we sing it as one voice. I remind you every year when I give this little talk that we attribute a famous axiom to St. Augustine of Hippo, that he who sings well prays twice. Because we firmly believe that in singing together as one voice, we proclaim our unity as a community, as a church, as a sign of faith. So it's important always to sing this song well. So let's talk about the song itself for a moment. The music, written in the 1913s, 1914 era, is a very famous piece of music in the English-speaking world and has been used to accompany a number of settings and a number of songs. But during the 1991 Rugby World Cup, it was chosen as the music for what became the rugby hymn World in Union and was used again at the 1995 World Cup. And so the tune itself became known to a number of younger ears that might not have been as familiar with it, and listeners around the world that might not have been as familiar with it as an audience in the United Kingdom. And so, inspired by that new use of this music, a Year 12 student in 1996 by the name of Eamon Flack started writing words to fit it that could be used as a song for Nudgee College. There were a couple of drafts, and he sought advice from different staff members and was sent back to flesh it out and to make it more complete, which he did, and that's the version that we use. Now, being something new, it wasn't taken to quickly by the student body at Nudgee College, who famously sometimes don't always like changing old habits. And particularly when it was brought forward by a new principal to say we should be singing this, it didn't necessarily get a great reception. But in the 2003 rugby season, things didn't go Nudgee's way very well. One of the few seasons in our 131-year history in which our team failed to win any games whatsoever. And at that time, it became a bit of a solace. It became a consolation. Nudgee boys started singing it, not because they were told to or made to, but because they wanted to. By the time I arrived here 2 years later, it was sung on such regular occasions and with such gusto, I thought it must have been decades and decades old and a well-established tradition. Whereas in fact, the school had only been using it that way for 18 months. Let's look at the words. The first stanza is the key message of the entire song. It sets the scene. That whatever else we have, whatever different gifts the 1,700 of you bring to this community, we are one because we all aspire to the motto, a sign of faith. That is the underlying point of the entire song. In the second stanza, then, we are introduced to the concept of a journey. There are two voices in this song, and this is the first. This is the young Nudgee man just starting out his great adventure in the blue and white. There is a love I do not know in the present tense. And this can be an exciting and invigorating place. Sounds and furies, honours, glory, great voice in great song. There is an excitement to the privilege of wearing that uniform. But a journey of that length will also bring its challenges. And the third stanza speaks beautifully as to, despite the size of the place and the friends you may have and the activities that you may enjoy, there will be occasions where you feel alone, where you feel isolated, where you feel that the challenge may be just a little bit too much. It is when we feel alone like that that we are at our most human. And it is when we are at our most human that we need the solidarity, that we need a community around us. And this sign of faith community is there always to support you. In the penultimate stanza then, Flack introduces the second voice. There's a love I did not know, now in the past tense. Time has moved on. This voice is the Year 12 boy at the end of his journey, or the old boy at the end of his life's journey, looking back with fondness at what was given to him as being a sign of faith. Those same excitements has seen him through the tough times. And no matter whether we are at the end of our nudgy journey or at the end of our life's journey, we have one thing that will always bind us and make us 10,000. And that is that we share the privilege of being a sign of faith. So you cannot sing the second to last line of this song and then mumble or run out of breath for the last line. Because it is the last line, being a sign of faith, this community, that makes us 10,000 brothers. So in singing it well, in being faithful to St. Augustine's admonition, always remember that this song is not sung until the last line is proclaimed just as confidently and as boldly and in such thanksgiving as all the rest. We sing it because we have great joy in the faith. We sing it because we are confident in our identity as Nudgee College. And we sing it because we take the consolation of membership of this college and being one of the 10,000. Now, another quote to finish. This one from Ralph Vaughan Williams, one of the greatest composers of the 20th century. The art of music, above all other arts, is the expression of the soul of a nation. And we could replace the nation there with this college. In singing this song, we reveal to others who we are. When we sing it well, we reveal the confidence and the boldness and the gratitude. When we do not, we reveal something else. Who we are is always revealed to others by the choices we make. So I invite you every time you sing this song to make the choice to sing it with joy, sing it boldly, and to sing it knowing that you are giving thanks for the privilege of being a part of this community. So, as our prayer then, Ms. Gafagi will accompany us on the piano, and Mr. Mohanawa will lead you, not in voice, because you have enough voices to fill this hall and those classrooms back online, but he will guide you and help you keep time so that we sing with one voice. So, stand. Shoulders back, lungs full of fresh oxygen.
Good morning, boys, parents, staff, and everyone else watching online. I just want to thank Mr. Mira. I always love hearing his recount of how the school song came to be. I hear it sung differently at so many occasions, and I would remind you to make sure that when we do sing it with gusto and belief, and we do belt out those final two lines. Obviously, with COVID still among us in some way, we're not still here as a full cohort. We are hoping to walk towards that by the end of the term. At the start of this term, I want to just give you a quick recap on where we are in terms of leadership of the college. Mr. Fulliger is away this term. In fact, ironically, he's about 300 metres from us, sitting across in the building to my left as the Acting Director of Edmund Rice Education Australia Northern Region. With his absence, that means the following people assume these positions. Mr. Sepetos will be the Acting Deputy Principal. Mr. Mara remains obviously as Dean of Identity. Mr. Campbell has now been appointed as the permanent Dean of Operations. Mr. Kennellan is your Dean of Students. Ms. Webber is the Acting Dean of Learning and Teaching. And Mr. Brearley is the Dean of Boarding. Those people form the college leadership team. In addition to that, Mr. Tuvey returns to his substantive role as Director of Students. Ms. Becker will act as the Director of Learning and Teaching. And in sport, Mr. Pybus will be the Acting Director of Sport, and Mr. Graham will be his 2IC for the rest of the year. Now, I know assemblies can mean you have to sit and listen a lot, and I want you to try and listen and focus just for 3 minutes. That's all I ask for. I want to talk about gratitude, and I want to read. Gratitude is a way for people to appreciate what they have instead of always reaching for something new in the hope it will make them happier, or thinking they can't feel satisfied until they have every physical and material need met. Gratitude helps people refocus on what they have instead of what they lack. And although it may feel contrived at first, this mental state grows stronger with use and practice. My short definition of gratitude is as follows. Gratitude is the art and practice of recognising what we have received from another and being motivated to give back without wanting anything in return. While resentment isolates people from one another, gratitude brings them into a closer relationship as they think about what they have received and how they can give back. Resentment alienates, but gratitude brings warmth, acceptance, joy, and love into relationships. Resentment also drains our energy as we ruminate on what we feel has been taken away from us, whereas gratitude energises us and opens us up not only to what we receive, but also on how we can give back. While resentment undermines and destroys relationships, gratitude builds and sustains them. So, gentlemen, after spending time listening to some friends over the weekend complain about students at their school, they complained about the teachers, and they complained about the leadership, I think it's a good time for us to remember, and to quote Mr. Todd, we are blessed to be here at this college and to be a part of this community. Boys, my challenge this term is for you to focus on good things that happen here each day. You know I have a bugbear. I want you to be polite and thank people. And I mean genuinely thank staff and other students when you can see something good has happened. And a lot of good things happen here every day. Don't get caught in negative spirals and focus on negative and build resentment towards others. That will do you no good. As Nelson Mandela famously said, resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies. In fact, the other person may not even be aware of the pain they have caused us, and so be oblivious to our resentment. Gentlemen, let's make term 2 one to remember for all the right reasons. Let's be grateful for what we have. It is truly a blessing to be back. Have a great term, boys.
Good morning, Mr. Johnston, members of CLT, staff, parents, and men of Nudgee, those online and in front of me today. I would like to start off by welcoming you all back from what was a very busy first term, and hope everyone had a wonderful Easter. Whether you are new to Nudgee this term or last term, I'm hopeful that in a few weeks' time, and until the end of the year, assemblies like this, where at the moment we can only facilitate 1,400 of us, can hold all 1,700 of us, and where we can focus on what we can do rather than what we can't do. Such upcoming events where we can physically be as one is Anzac Day ceremony and showcase. Last term, in our final assembly, I posed a question to all of you. What sacrifice must you make to better yourself when results come out over the holidays? I hope that almost all of you Nudgee men took the time to knuckle down and do what was required to get you that desired mark. For many of you, this is the case, and you would have achieved the mark you wanted. However, for some, you might have lost that 1 or 2 marks that you did not plan for. If this is the case, I recommend seeking advice from teachers and learning where you went wrong. Term 2 is about improving from the previous term, maintaining what you've done well, and is a chance to excel. It is a chance to own your journey in so many ways, whether that is through social justice programs, sustainability, the arts, sport, or just staying on top of your work. It is easy for you to prioritise academia over all the opportunities presented at the college. So I ask you men of Nudgee to once again try the new in 22 and go outside your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to do something that you have never done before. Your years at Nudgee are limited, so don't leave everything to do in your final year when you're at your busiest. Despite the holidays only being 2 weeks, we can lose progress in our journey in establishing a discerning work ethic and routine. So with that in mind, I hope that the parent-teacher interviews yesterday allowed you to recognise the work that you've put in or the work that you need to do in this coming term. Just remember that we are already a quarter of the way through this year, or for seniors, a third. Don't sit there and let the term pass by when you can put in the hard yards early in the term while you're fresh and energised. As I emphasised last term, we have started the year off extraordinarily well in terms of participation in all areas of school life, with sport participation and spirit being at its peak since the pandemic. One highlight for me was the first 6 volleyball team winning their first premiership in 20 years outright. Leading into this term and next, I hope that we can continue our positive support for our teams and uphold why Nudgee spirit is unique. Another area of focus for this term is for boys in grades 7 through to 10 is to reflect on the learning habits you set in your start of semester interviews. What must you do to live out these habits before the end of semester? Despite it being week 1 of a 9-week term, we must hit the ground running and not lose focus on our goals for this semester and year. Training for this term's sport has already commenced, as well as pre-season training for term 3 sport and other extracurricular activities. Remember that balance is key and we must maintain that. So, if I was to leave you with some advice for this term, continue to own your journey, get back into your routine, stay balanced, and take all the opportunities you are given this term in order to strive for excellence. Whether that be taking on a new instrument, attending Big Brekkie, or going to support the first in tennis or football on a Saturday. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Johnson, staff, parents, and my fellow Nudgee brothers. We had a number of boys at national championships for the track and field, rowing and swimming over the holidays with a number of standout performances. In track and field, we had 10 boys in Sydney for the Australian Track and Field Championships. Ashley Wong broke a meet and state record in the 4x100 metre relay, with Alex Wayne taking gold medals in both 800 and the 1500. Will Kisby took a silver medal in the 1500 metre, while there were also standout performances from Nick Conway in the high jump and Will Curran in the 3000 metre. Nudgee Rowing sent a team of 11 rowers to Nagambie Lake in Victoria to compete at the Rowing Australian National Championships. Half of the group's focus was development and exposure to rowing at the highest level. The other half were there to compete strongly for the school. Highlights for the week were: in a very strong field, Chad Willett progressed through to the A final in the under-19 scull, and in a fantastic race came away with a silver medal. Harry Dixon raced up an age category in the under-21 lightweight single scull and made it through to the B final. George Curry and Will Enders combined to race in the under-17 double scull and progressed through to the A final, where they placed 6th. Jonah Nelson and Chad Willett silver medal in the under-19 double scull. Chad Willett had the race of his life, finishing second from one of the unfavourable outside lanes in the schoolboys single scull. Finally, in swimming, Open Nationals held in South Australia, Thomas Cannell placed 4th in 17 years 400 metre freestyle and 6th in the 200 metre freestyle. Dom Oswald 9th in 15 years 200 metre breaststroke, and Blair McKittrick 8th in the 16 years 50 metre backstroke. Congratulations to all the Blues who made it to these nationals.
Good morning, Mr. Johnston, staff, parents and Nudgee men. As Cooper has outlined, it was a busy holiday period for many swimmers, rowers and athletes with their national championships. Back here in Queensland, there was plenty of action, with the cross-country program continuing their preparation for the GPS season, hosting a successful training camp on the Gold Coast. Meanwhile, up on the Sunshine Coast, 46 First 15 rugby hopefuls attended a camp involving field training, culture and team-building exercises. As part of the camp, the squad also ran a popular community clinic at Kawana. Further afield, a party of under 12 rugby players attended a carnival in Armidale, New South Wales, both teams dropping just 1 game each. Tennis hosted a camp here at Nudgee, which included tennis fundamentals, sports psychology sessions and match practice, which should hold them in good stead for their season. We also hosted a successful basketball camp here at Nudgee. Mr. Johnson talked about gratitude, and I'd like to say a massive thank you to staff who gave their time giving these opportunities to our community. I'd also like to commend how many boys got involved in these activities and took advantage of the opportunities in front of them. On to Term 2 sport, where cross-country, tennis and football are in their seasons. We will start with football. Firstly, we were delighted to welcome our new top coach, Donny Campagnello from London, who will be embedded into our programme for the next 12 weeks as part of our partnership with Tottenham Hotspurs. Like many other sports, it was a busy Easter for football, with 7 different camps held at Nudgee, along with a national Edmund Rice football tournament involving close to 50 teams. Congratulations to Year 7 and Year 8 teams for winning their competitions, and to the Year 5 and Opens team who narrowly lost out in the final of this competition. Round 1 of the football season is this weekend, with all 41 Nudgee teams playing at home. All teams are training today or tomorrow, and we look forward to seeing the boys on the field this week. As always, fixtures, team lists and more information accessible on the Nudgee team apps. There is also a short video on the team app entitled, "What Does a Nudgee Football Player Look Like?" It's 90 seconds long, and I would ask all Nudgee football players to take the time to view it in the next few days. The First 11 squad have been working hard since October last year, and I would now like to invite 2022 captain Luke Blackwell to the stage to present the squad.
Good morning, Mr. Johnston, esteemed guests, staff and students. After an extensive pre-season of training and fixtures, the boys that I'm presenting you today are ready for battle. These Nudgee men have worked their socks off in their pre-season efforts, all for 8 games. 8 games to prove themselves. 8 opportunities to seize the moment and achieve greatness. 8 80-minute efforts. 2 years ago, we placed third. Last season, we were incredibly lucky with second. This year, it is only right that the premiership is rightfully returned to Nudgee. To the seniors, I say enjoy it, boys, for this will be the last time you play in the blue and white jersey. Ensure that you lead by example. Keep your heads and make sure that when you cross that white line, you are a winner and you will stand for nothing less. Do it for yourself, your family, your mates, and of course, your Nudgee brothers, who are always closer than you think. Gents, to say that we need your support would be an understatement. Each and every one of you must flood the grandstand every week as if your life depends on it. Because I assure you that in the dying seconds of the game, you will make the difference. I'd now like to invite Mr. Johnston to the stage. And without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce your first 11 football squad for 2022. Dylan Minicki. Dania Cambona. Ryan O'Keefe. Jacob Johnson. Jamie Waddington. Ethan Rigby. Ryan Tapuris. Jaira Taylor. Liam Byrne. Rylan Brownlee. Aidan Reid. Declan Parkinson. Jack Mayer. Oliver Williams. And last but not least, Winston Jury.
Good morning, Mr. Johnson, parents, staff, and men of Nudgee. It gives me great pleasure to stand in front of you today to announce the first four squad for the Nudgee tennis program in 2022. But before I do, I just want to talk to you about tennis. Tennis is traditionally an individual sport. Significant tennis events highlight this as we watch Ash, Nadal, Federer play tennis in singles competition. but I want to stress that this is not nudgy tennis. Nudgy tennis is a team sport. It is a team sport because it is impossible for one great tennis player to win a GPS premiership. It takes a great team to win a GPS premiership. Only when all players contribute, train hard, support each other, play for each other, can a GPS premiership be attained. So this year, as a program, we've been focusing on the team mentality. When boys come to play on Saturday, they know they are playing for each other and they know they are playing for the blue and white. There is one team that has demonstrated this characteristic above all, and that is, of course, our first four. Now, no team would be complete without a captain. This year's captain has embodied this mindset, and I know he will lead the first four in the GPS tennis program with distinction. I would now like to invite the captain of tennis, Luke Doig, to the stage.
Good morning, Mr. Johnston, members of the CLT, staff, parents, and my Nudgy brothers. Nudgy tennis has kicked off strongly for this year, seeing large numbers of participants in all age groups. From the countless pre-season training sessions to the strenuous holiday training camps, these boys are more than prepared for the matches and challenges they face this term. With this in mind, myself and all the coaches involved have high expectations for all the age groups, including our first four, who stand a huge chance at taking the premiership this time around. No matter who the boys are or what team they are representing, I'd like to remind them that they are not just playing for themselves, but for Nudgy, for the blue and white. With camaraderie and team spirit leading the charge on the court, I call upon those off the court to step up and play a part. If your matches have finished, stay behind. If you're playing a different sport and past the tennis courts, stay behind and support. There is nothing more inspiring, more energizing, more motivating than being on court and playing behind the echoing war cries of your own Nudgy brethren. I challenge you to be there as you decide our legacy as a sporting school this term. So help us bring the cup home, boys. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Mr. Johnston and head coach Declan Pearce up to the stage to help present your first four squad with their shirts. Please hold your applause until the end. Marcus Schumann. Ben Forbes. Padraig Townsend. Zane Kremer. Lawson Swain. Please congratulate your first four squad.
Good morning, Mr. Johnson, staff, parents, and my Nudgy brothers. The 2022 GPS volleyball season was one to remember. After a successful volleyball camp and many trial games, it was obvious that the Nudgy outfit was a true contender, not only in the first, but the whole program. Your first six started their season with 3-0 wins against both Toowoomba Grammar and BBC, and a nail-biting 3-2 win against Churchie. The Nudgy outfit was proving to be a real premiership contender. Round 5 and 6 saw all GPS volleyball games cancelled due to the floods, which was a shame as the round 5 clash against an undefeated BGS side would have been a thriller. This put the first six one step closer to the premiership. Terrace Week arrived and the first six were prepared for a tough game. Like every other week, the 10,000 brothers trekked out and outnumbered the Terrace boys at the Terradome and pushed their first six to a 3-1 victory. The last round for the seniors was quickly approaching, and Ipswich Grammar was next to be beaten by the strong Nudgee outfit. After another 3-0 victory to your first 6, the premiership was in sight. Throughout the season, your first 6 showed relentlessness, determination, and composure, which helped in the undefeated season. I would also like to thank the coaches, Angus Burton and Lewis Begg, as well as Mr. Connon, for the countless hours he put in to make this season such a successful one. I would also like to thank all the staff involved and coaching and all the stuff behind the scenes. Lastly, I would like to thank all the supporters who came out to each game and outnumbered every school. This played a huge role in our undefeated season. Now, I can gladly say that the 20-year drought has been broken and the premiership is back at the Bear Cave. It gives me great pleasure now to present the GPS Premiership Trophy to Mr. Johnston.
As we come into the winter sporting season, it's timely to give a few basic reminders. Very simple ones and very easily understood. Boys, across all the sports, please be committed to your training and your games and communicate where you can't attend these. Be on time. Being on time probably means being early, so if your session starts at 6:15, you're kicking balls or hitting tennis balls at that time rather than arriving at that time. Be engaged and show respect for the staff who are giving their time to help you. Be supportive of your teammates. Be a good sportsman. Show respect. Play hard but fair. Look the part in your kit, and those of you staying on to support the first teams in the grandstand, please wear your uniform. Good luck to all boys this term. Enjoy your involvement and represent yourselves and Nudgee in a positive way. I'd now like to pass to Ms. Kafaji, the Director of Performing Arts.
Good morning, Mr. Johnston, CLT, staff, parents, and Nudgee College men. I never stop learning about what art means to different people and how it is incorporated into people's lives. At the beginning of the holidays, Nudgee College played host to the Variety Foundation's Braille Music Camp. I was not involved in any way, but the participants stayed in the boarding house and used the music facilities. I happened to be in during some work and was intrigued by the sights and sounds. I took some photos of the typewriters that were being used to create music scores that could be read as Braille and heard such joyous singing. It inspired me to head along to the concert in Tierney, where I witnessed a truly life-changing experience. Now, in the past, I have worked a lot with differently abled students, mainly at camps done in the holidays to offer respite to parents. And I have seen the effects that music can have on older people as well, who can have memories unlocked by sounds from their past. But this was different. These students, the same ages as you, got up and performed a 2-hour concert with passion, skill, and musicality. In musical teams, there was a choir, a band of kotos, which are Japanese string instruments, some beatboxing and a drum kit to accompany a spontaneous rap where the topic was suggested by the audience, as well as soloists playing violin, piano, and even tabla, an Indian percussion instrument. Without their sight, the students heard, and more importantly, felt the music more than most. It was the first time that this event has been held in Queensland, and I hope that it continues and that some of you get to be involved. This term, we ramp up the drama side of things when our theatre sports commence their 2022 competition. We have 2 senior teams and 1 junior who have been preparing throughout Term 1 and are ready for greatness. Stay tuned for when and where you can see them and support them in action. Also, Chess steps up their training ahead of their GPS season in Term 3. It's not too late to get involved. Head down to Purton on Tuesdays or Fridays to check it out. Debating continue the QDU season on Wednesday nights as well. And of course, music teams continue all year. And I'll remind you that if you're at school, rehearsal is on and you're expected to be there. a team is only as strong as its weakest link. Those expectations for sport translate across into our arts teams as well. Today, we don't have a performance in the traditional sense, but Oliver Bryans, whom you have met as one of our arts prefects, will be playing you a piece he composed last term. Please welcome him to tell you how and why he wrote this work and enjoy something different.
Good morning, Mr. Johnson, college leadership team, staff, parents, and my fellow Nudgy brothers. Last term, for my IA2 assessment piece for music, I decided to write a composition with the inspiration of the Baroque period. Used during the 19th century, Baroque music is known for its grandiose, dramatic, and energetic spirit, but also for its stylistic diversity. Now, to modernise it, I chose to compose a pastiche, which, by definition, means to imitate a style or form of art. Now, before the piece is played, I'll give you a quick overview of what it's about. The piece itself is called divertissement, a French word typically meaning amusement or entertainment. The reasoning behind this is to project the complexity of the different sections as well as the beauty and elegance Baroque music is well known for. Along with this, to further articulate the Baroque feel, the instrumentation of the piece is predominantly made up of a string quartet and a harpsichord. So, thank you, and I hope you enjoy.
Well done, Ollie. Thanks for sharing such a beautiful piece with us. Gents, last term we heard many messages about our endeavours to create a kindness culture. And as we begin a new chapter of our 2022 journey, it's appropriate to refocus this. I challenge you one day at a time throughout term 2 to take on a number of these tasks. Add kindness to your daily routine. Smile, wish others a good morning. Ask how their day's going. Small acts of friendliness make a big difference. Be vocal in your praise. Give a compliment to a different person each day. Look for what is good. It's easy to sometimes find what is wrong or broken. It takes courage to recognise and celebrate the good in other things and other people. Choose empathy. Take time to listen. Get to know others' stories, share the load. Give each other the benefit of the doubt. We are often quick to judge and persecute, even though we all make mistakes from time to time. And finally, be gentle on yourself. Sometimes we need to cut ourselves some slack. As young men, we face many challenges. How do you respond when you are under pressure, feeling frustrated, feeling angry? We are called every day to live Jesus in our hearts. In term 2, let us lead with our heart a little more often. Gents, I just want to touch on our uniform and haircut expectations quickly. You have until Friday to make sure your formal uniform is perfected. As you can see behind me, there are a couple of our standards which you are well aware of. Blazers to and from school in PC and in period 5 or 6 on a Friday. If you choose to wear pants, your only option is black or navy socks. Top buttons must be done up. Shoes should be shining. Also, our hair expectations are extremely well advertised. You are clear on this. No shorter than a number 3 blade. Okay, in particular, around the sides and the back. Length not to be over your collar, over your eyebrows, and over your ears. And senior boys must be cleanly shaven each day. I must admit, a little frustrated this morning as I walked down to see a number of boys who have chosen to have zero shave, as a number 0 blade shave, back and sides blending into the top. You are well aware of our standards, boys. Please make sure you make yourself known to your house dean if you have not presented yourself in what we are expecting. My hope is that staff will challenge you throughout this next week if you are not fitting these guidelines. Please make sure you are respectful and act promptly. We go to the week ahead. You'll be aware tomorrow we have house meetings. They'll be used for showcase practice. The venues are behind me. You should already be aware of that. Finally, I just wanted to mention on Friday we hold our Anzac Day commemoration, special ceremony where we remember those brave men and women who served our country. As one of Australia's most important national events, our Anzac Day ceremony is a solemn occasion which requires your dignified attention. This is a time for reverence, so please ensure your behaviour is impeccable. Refrain from talking to others, and absolutely no phones on that day, please. The details you can see on the screen behind me. You'll attend PC as normal. Make sure you're dressed appropriately. On instruction from your PC tutor, you will move around the outside of Ross to the grandstand area. Please note on this day, it's acceptable for you to have your hat and strongly encouraged. Some houses will be in the sun, and I appreciate that might be a little bit uncomfortable for a short period, but I also know that you will handle that well. Gents, can we now conclude our assembly with 3 cheers, and I welcome Luke Blackwell to the front of the hall, please.
Nudgy! 3 cheers for the first 11. Well done on a tough pre-season, boys. As for you boys, I expect to see you all out there Saturday 1:15. 3 cheers for the first 4 tennis. Wish you boys all the best. 3 cheers for volleyball last term. Props to Bailey and the boys for a first premiership in 20 years. How good. Remember to show your gratitude, boys. We're all blessed to be here. Well done to all the boys who attended the Brown Music Camp and to Ollie for his assessment piece. 3 cheers. Let's make this one loud. In go away. Yeah. In go away. Yeah. In go away. Yeah.
Well done. Thank you, Luke. Gents online in years 5 to 9, you will move straight to period 2 now. For those boys in the hall, listen carefully for the following instructions. And teachers, please be aware, and apologies for this, but our year 10, 11, 12 boys will be 10 minutes late to period 2. So year 10, when I give the signal, you are going to move directly to Tierney Auditorium. You need to make that a fast trip, please. Move in, find your house groups, and be attentive immediately. Year 11 and 12, once our parents have moved, I'm asking you to come forward and be as close to the front as possible. Have a great week, and thank you for being involved in our assembly.